we are outside Whitehall. Look, it's all going off here. It's all kicking off. It's 6:30 in the evening. Everybody's at the Hare Krishna thing. We're feeding loads and loads of people. Look at this place. This is what we do. Hare Krishna's feeding absolutely hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people outside Downing Street. Yes, it gets in there. All for the homeless. And you can grab me. I'm here. And your name is, madam?
I'm Jade.
Yes. And why would you like to grab me, madam?
We brought a load of canned goods down and wet wipes and everything.
Yeah, bring it down. Bring it down to us. Bring it out where we're past. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, wonderful. Here we go, and this is what we cook. This is what we cook for these people. This is our lovely Prema. Hello, Prema. Prema feeds everybody every single day, 6 days a week for free. Bless them.
Well, Victoria, you've been through some terribly trying times, but you've turned it into something incredibly positive. Do tell all.
Well, David, 2011, I lost my father and I couldn't cope with his death. I had a fantastic job in London. I was working as a front of house manager at Nuffield Gym. And due to the grief of my father's death, quit my job and ended up homeless for 9 months.
It's a very difficult time going through grief, and for any people that don't understand it, it takes something like 3 years to go over the first major departure of someone close to you, doesn't it?
Indeed, and especially considering I didn't really have any close family around me, it was quite a difficult time.
Well, judging by your accent, you sound like you're a little bit south from here. Where are you from?
South Africa, all the way. Yeah, from South Africa, Johannesburg. Moved over in 2009. To be closer to my sister and my father, who at the time was living in Scotland.
Right, okay, so, well, you lost your father and you became homeless, obviously being traumatised by that. But what about this positive move you've made over this? What are you doing?
What my plan is to build 2 homeless shelters, one in the UK and one in Africa. At the moment, I've got my business plan. I'm just formulating the right people and getting the right skills together. The name of the shelter is going to be Ikuzelu, which means to harvest in Zulu. And it's going to have an allotment, it's going to have a gym, it's going to have counsellors, it's going to have workshops. Homeless people are going to have healthy foods, they're going to be basically loved back to life. Obviously, going through this trauma myself, I understand what is needed. And what is the problem is that the shelters are there, but you have to have a local connection to the area. So sometimes people are on the street for months at a time. And it's not only the weather that they're dealing with, but it's emotional scarring and the rejection and all sorts of things that go with it. A lot of the time, many homeless people turn to an addiction, such as alcohol or drugs, to cope with their situation. And it all just spirals out of control.
Yes,
Yeah, so I think the thing is, it's no point putting them just in a hostel, because then they've got other addicts in that situation who then feed off each other's addictions. They need to be loved back to life. After all, they have skills. Everyone has skills. A lot of the time, they're ex-army and navy boys that don't have any sort of way to go forward from being in the forces, or they're just people who've lost their way. So they need that step up. As I said, putting them in a hostel isn't the way forward. They need to be loved back to life, empowered, fed the right foods, given exercise again, just loving them all over, mentally, spiritually and emotionally. And once they're on their feet again, boom, they can be released back into society.
It's very telling what you say. I mean, we've covered the homeless kitchens that popped up around the capital, particularly one in Trafalgar Square. And something we did notice was there's a great misconception by the public about why alcohol's involved. Now, alcohol, I understand, plays a part, because if you don't drink alcohol at all and you become homeless, I do understand from talking to many people who have been homeless that in fact it's more or less the only way you're going to get into a hostel if you've got an addiction or a problem.
Well, this is the thing. You either get in if you've got an addiction, or, as I said, if you've got a local connection to the area. As well, if you're a female and you obviously have a child, then that's a priority. But as a female who was from South Africa, even though I have a British passport, I've got an English mom and a Scottish dad, I was left in the snow. I was left to sleep on cardboard boxes. I mean, as a woman being vulnerable, not only gangs, but all sorts of things you're facing out here. So I really feel that people need to catch a wake up, and it needs to come from the top. And the wealth distribution needs to be evenly, sought out. There needs to be a real deep thinking about the people's needs, and not just about, we're addressing things on sort of a surface level, but this is root stuff that needs to be dealt with.
One of the root things that I think people are entitled to is free travel. I don't mean free of charge.
Yeah.
But I do mean being free to travel. Something I've noticed, particularly around this area, particularly Charing Cross, is you cannot get an Oyster top-up. You can't travel with a paper ticket. There's no such thing. So if you're a woman, if you're alone, or if you're vulnerable, you cannot, even if you have the money, actually use the public transport.
No, exactly. I mean, a lot of the times, to be honest, if we did have a couple of quid, we would sleep on the buses because it was the safest place. Or we would go and sleep in chapels or churches, or, you know, sometimes the NHS would help us and would be able to wait in the waiting rooms. So yeah, but you know, everyone copes with it differently. I did drawing in Trafalgar Square to make my money. Luckily I never got into theft and I didn't go down that route. And it's my faith that got me through. It's my faith in God that got me through, and glory to him.
Well, I think it's excellent what you're doing. I'm sure it's certain to catch on, and I think that amongst the needy, they're going to need to be able to get in touch with you. Now, at the bottom of the screen for the viewers, later we can add a little caption somewhere
Sure.
here. Is there something you can give us? Is there somewhere they can go to click on?
If they want to email me, that's fine. Vix, VIX 197857 @gmail.com.
Okay, and that's just below the screen right now.
Okay.
Victoria, thank you very much indeed.
No
Marvellous
problem.
work.
Thank
and
you.
I'm sure we'll be following you along if we may, and let's see how this develops.
Okay, great. Thanks for the time.
Thank you very much. In 2010, trade union leader Bob Crow and Dave Nellis decided that enough was enough. Labour certainly didn't represent the values that they believed in, or those of their members, or perhaps of many people in the general public. I've got Paula with me here from Tusk, and she's going to tell us a little bit about how they're doing. Paula.
Well, this year we're standing 135 candidates in the general election, and that includes 26 candidates in London, which is a third of the seats, which is, we think, quite an impressive stand for a party that's only a few years old. We're still a coalition with the RMT, but there's many hundreds of ordinary trade unionists, community campaigners, housing campaigners, ordinary working class people who have just had enough of all the main parties, who, while along with, you know, most of us want to see the back of the Tories, don't believe that Labour is going to fundamentally be that much different. They've pledged to continue with austerity. They've said that there's going to be no more money for local government. There's a massive housing crisis, particularly in London at the moment, with 1 million too few homes. But none of the major parties are prepared to commit to what's needed, which is, in our view, a major council house building programme. We need rent controls, and in our view, we need to be nationalising the banks and the building companies. But if we nationalise the banks, we can secure cheap mortgages for people to buy houses, as well as secure their pensions, and we'll be able to access the resources which are there in society, but just at the moment not put to use for the benefit of the majority.
Well, one of the great concerns that the public are having is something I noticed in the last few nights at the Strand. You can't get a bus home if you don't have a ticket, and you can't top it up anywhere. So and people are vulnerable. So what would Tusk have in terms of that side of it? It's a problem, isn't it?
It is a problem. I mean, we stand for public ownership of all of the transport network, and the buses, of course, were privatised a number of years ago under Thatcher, and it's been complete chaos, deregulation. We want that to be renationalised. We want cheap, affordable transport for everybody. We support the London bus drivers who have been forced into taking action recently over pay. And we would see a transport system that was properly integrated with the tube network and with railways, and even with the ferries, you know, in the case of London and elsewhere, so that we can all get home safely at night, and that the workers who work in those services get decent pay and secure jobs as well.
So you're looking forward to this general election. Do you think it's going to make a big paradigm shift for the public?
In this election, it's unusual because you can't say at this stage, even now, who's going to win. And the Tories are so hated, and we've had 5 years of austerity, that really it's astonishing that Labour aren't going to have a landslide. But actually lots of working class people aren't going to be voting Labour this time, and that's because they've betrayed them. They feel like they've let them down and that they've pledged further austerity. And that's why we're standing, because while we understand obviously that a lot of people do want to see the back of the Tories, that they're not going to be voting Labour who've betrayed them, and so we need to be able to offer a positive alternative that says that we don't have to stand against, we don't have to accept this austerity while the rich are getting richer. It's not right that people should be losing their jobs and losing their homes. And so we're saying that alternative and hopefully pointing to the future where we think there's the possibility for a new political voice for working class people.
A warm-up for the Brixton on the 25th. On Friday the 24th, we're having an open day on the Aylesbury estate. We're asking all politicians to turn up to see inside the flats where we can show them they don't need any demolition. Hooray! And we're going to have some amazing street theatre, and we're going to have visitors saying what they think to the video and to the public. The fight back on the Aylesbury and everywhere is carrying on. The latest occupation ended, as you know, with us ripping down the fences, but watch this space for more. Yeah! Stop the Aylesbury demolition now!
Thank you, everybody. Round of applause, please. It's all about sharing. It's all about talking to each other. It's all about the solidarity. Let's get together, get more friends. Make this a better world.
He got an ice pick that made his ears burn. Whatever happened to and Sancho Panza? Whatever happened to the heroes? Whatever happened to heroes? Whatever happened to all the Shakespeareos? They watch their burn burn. They watch their burn burn. Whatever happened to heroes?
funded. We feed in the places of King's Cross, Camden Town and Kensington Town for free. If anybody wants to come and have free food at our places, you will be most welcome. Most welcome. And if you know anybody else on the streets that is hungry, please come see us. We've got food for all. On top of that, if anybody wants to just help you, just talk to each other. How are we going to help if we don't talk? So let's be united and talk together. How can we help? What can we do? Can we get sleeping bags? Can we get free clothing? Can we get free food? But like I said, talk to each other. I'm sure you've got leaflets. Help each other. It's about, we're here together. There could be thousands more. Tell your mates. If there's another one, tell your friends. Make it larger. Be here for the homeless. Be here for those in need. Be here for those who don't have any. Thank you. On our streets, no more death or poverty. No more death on our streets. No more death or misery. We don't want to live inside a cage no more. We don't want to have to suffer just because we're poor. Everybody has the right to live in peace. We don't want to have to die upon these streets. So no more death on our streets. No more death or poverty. No more death on our streets. No more death or misery. You cannot imagine how the homeless feel, shivering in winter time without a decent meal. We are heading back into a darker time. Now they're turning homelessness into a crime. No more death on our streets. No more death or poverty. No more death on our streets. No more death or misery. We've had enough, we're sleeping rough, but no one seems to know how tough your life has been, because they do not know love. Reality upon the streets, it isn't quite the way it seems. The guarantee to get released from you on. No more death on our streets. No more death or poverty. No more death on our streets. No more death or misery. No more death on our streets. No more death or poverty. No more death on our streets. No more death or misery. No more death on our streets.